Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast, the Drafted Up podcast. We're back today. We're doing a rookie dynasty draft, 4 rounds, Nick and I and the computer. So we're going to dive into that as promised in last episode. You know where to find us: Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Obviously, you're listening. Search Drafted Up podcast, like, rate, subscribe, review, share, all that stuff. We appreciate it. Twitter at @DraftedUp_pod. Nicholas, how you doing today?
Doing good. Ready to get into the fantasy swing of everything. We've come football full circle again. As the draft ends, fantasy starts.
Yep.
So it's a never-ending process, brother.
Yeah. We're going to do our little rookie dynasty fantasy draft here. But before we do that, George Pickens traded to the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes.
Literal hours after we recorded on Tuesday, and you brought it up how I would feel about Dallas if they signed a receiver, because I was complaining that was my biggest script. They didn't draft one, but now they went out and traded for George Pickens. They traded a 3 and a 5. They got Pickens and a 6th back. Ultimately, I think it's a win-win for everybody: Dallas, Pittsburgh, and George Pickens.
Yeah, Dallas was missing this kind of receiver, a big body, physical kind of receiver to let CD eat the middle of the field and still take the top off occasionally, but CD's going to eat in the middle and George Pickens is going to take the top off, man. It's a perfect fit for George Pickens. I think it's a huge upgrade fantasy-wise for Pickens. I don't think he was going to do well in the Arthur Smith system because he uses a one receiver. They pay DK Metcalf up $150 million, so it's going to be DK. It wasn't going to be Pickens. I think Pickens has a way bigger upside now in Dallas.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work out, Dallas will get the compensatory pick when George Pickens, if he would sign elsewhere next year, or if it does work out and they sign him long term. I think this is great for Dak Prescott because there was no reliability in the running game with Javonte, Miles Sanders, Jayden Blue, that open-ended backfield there that's not exactly consistent or reliable. Now it gets Dak a second option who is a huge upgrade over Brandon Cooks. No disrespect to Jake Ferguson at the tight end position, but you don't really want him to be the focal point behind CeeDee Lamb, and that's what the case was going to be had Dallas really not went out and got George Pickens, and I think that's great for him, great for CD, great for Dak, and great for DK on the Pittsburgh side, because now it is solidifying him as the number one, and now the back end after him and their depth chart is wide open. Is it going to be Roman Wilson coming off the injury last year, not really playing, which Pittsburgh does that anyways. They don't really play a lot of rookie receivers. So is it Roman Wilson? They signed Robert Woods, who was great 4 or 5 years ago and hasn't been
Bobby Trees, baby,
really relevant in the last 3 or 4 years since then. And the Calvin Austin's there as well. So it really opens up the battle there for the second receiver spot in Pittsburgh. But like you said, it's really not an offense that focuses on the second wide receiver. Yeah. So I still expect it DK, and then it would probably be Pat Freiermuth as the second option.
I agree. DK's going to eat regardless, but this does give Roman Wilson the chance to step up. Bobby Trees is going to be fine, but he's not a body that's like stopping him from playing. Exactly, yeah. And I think Calvin Austin's going to be the slot regardless. So I think his job's almost safe.
Yeah.
But there's a battle for number 2 now since Pickens is out of the house. So Pittsburgh's depth chart is going to be interesting for fantasy-wise.
Yep, I agree, and we'll see who their quarterback is, because still isn't Aaron Rodgers.
Hopefully it's Rodgers, dude. Hopefully it's Rodgers for fantasy.
But hey, Mason Rudolph, he was peppering George Pickens last year, and his best games fantasy were with Mason Rudolph. So
yeah, that is true.
Maybe that'll be. And then the other bit of news: Derek Carr retiring.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't fully buy this retirement.
I agree.
I think this is the Saints were probably like, hey, you didn't tell us how bad your injury was, so like we're not gonna like push for an injury lawsuit with this money. So like I think this might be just like a 1-year walk away for Carr, and then New Orleans trades his rights or releases him next off season. But if it isn't, Derek Carr had a fun little run. He had a
great run,
that
for sure.
MVP caliber season in Vegas, Oakland, that 1 year before he got hurt. He was good for some spark games here or there. He was decent at, carrying fantasy relevant wide receivers, Chris Olave, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers. Yeah. So kudos to him. He made bank, like not Kirk Cousins level bank for being,
It was there though,
this
yeah.
average, slightly above average quarterback, but he was just getting paid. So kudos to him if it is truly the end of the run for him. But I'm not fully buying it.
Yeah, I seen something where him retiring opens up like $30 million a cap for New Orleans, but he still settled for 10 million of it. So he still got a good chunk of change for stepping away. I could see him just taking a year off, healing up that shoulder on that nasty play versus the Giants last season.
Yep.
And him just coming back. He's only 34. He's still, it's old, don't get me wrong, but quarterbacks
he's
are playing until
Tyler
38. Hey, I heard a thing where Tyler Shuck's older than Trevor Lawrence, and that blew my mind, brother.
He is. Same high school class.
Is.
Yeah.
It's insane because Lawrence is what? He's on his 5th year now?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is Lawrence's 5th year, and Tyler Shuck is entering his rookie class now. It's quite the journey for that man, and he might start, dude. He might get the rock there in New Orleans.
This ultimately does open up the door for me for Tyler Shuck being the starting quarterback in New Orleans. I know Kellen Moore came out and said that all 3 quarterbacks there are going to take reps in practice as they figure out which one it is, but it's going to be Tyler Shuck. He has the draft capital. New head coach drafted him. Kellen Moore didn't draft Jake Hayner or Spencer Rattler. So
exactly.
And ultimately, like we were going in with the mindset that Tyler Shuck was going to be the Saints quarterback, so it doesn't change too much of your perspective for fantasy output for the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, totally agree. But yeah, man, yeah, Carr had a good run. It was fun. He's a reliable quarterback, man. It's something I can't say the Giants have had since Eli. So kudos to him.
Yeah, the Vikings have this weird ability to just have any quarterback be competent. Even before Kevin O'Connell, like Randall Cunningham in '98, playing the year after he retired, came in and had one of his best seasons. They did it with Warren Moon, Jeff George, Brett Favre at 40 came out and had one of his best seasons. Sam Darnold last year, Kirk Cousins for a handful of years. It's a weird stretch of time, but they've never really had a franchise quarterback.
Who'd you guys do? Like, you guys had like 11 wins with what's his face?
Josh Dobbs.
No, the white guy.
Oh, Case Keenum. We went to the NFC Championship game.
Case Keenum.
Case Keenum. It's a crazy situation. Like the closest thing we've had to a franchise quarterback in my life has been Dante Culpepper, and he was great for 2 years until he got hurt.
He had a good run for sure. But yeah, man, I was blessed with the greatness of Eli Manning and then dog shit after that. So hopefully Jackson Dart, baby, turn around. We got a thing for Ole Miss quarterbacks, baby.
I am hoping J.J. McCarthy is the first true franchise quarterback I've seen in my lifetime for my football team.
Hey, man, I agree, man. I hope we sit here next year knowing what McCarthy is, and then hopefully Dart gets the rock next season. And then in 2 years, we could both sit here with franchise quarterbacks, dude. So
yeah. Ultimately,
we have bright-looking futures for sure.
Good or bad, it is exciting to have a high prospect at the quarterback position.
100%.
No matter what. Like, I was excited when the Vikings had Christian Ponder, and that ultimately did not work. He was cheeks.
I was not excited for Danny Jones. I will tell you that firsthand. You loved Jones coming out of Duke.
I did love Daniel Jones.
So yeah. I love Jackson Dart, though. Anyone who listened to this podcast heard me hyped up Dart all off season, so I couldn't be happier with our
maybe a snag
franchise quarterback
in our little 4-round draft.
We'll see where he goes. 4 rounds, he's going to get drafted.
Yeah, before we do that, though, you guys know by now, big hat guy. And the people at Finley Hats are creating hats for good times. And unlike any other hat on the planet, they have a lifetime warranty. So if your hat gets damaged or destroyed, they'll repair it or replace it completely free. They got these cool laces that you could secure your hat on. Sort of like, think of those little bucket hats that you wear, and you could secure it around your neck if you're out running routes or just surfing or at the beach and you just want to secure your hat on it. They're really durable, really cool. They also have a hidden pocket on the inside. You can stash cash there, business cards, whatever you could squeeze in there. So join the Finley Force, and if you click the link provided in the episode details, first-time buyers will get a nice 15% off their purchase. So click the link. Support the Force over at Finley Hats and support the podcast. the Drafted Up podcast. They've got a huge selection of snapbacks, dad hats, beanies. They have mystery boxes. They do flash drops every Friday. This week's flash drop was shrimps. I got a cool little hat coming. It's got a little cat as a shrimp. It's pretty cool. You'll see it here in the coming weeks. So check out Finley at the link. You'll get a nice 15% discount if you're a first-time buyer, and you'll be supporting the podcast.
Oh yeah, dude. Click that link. You heard the man. Click that link.
Yeah. They also have sunglasses. If you don't do hats, they have sunglasses. They might have shirts. That I can't confirm. All right.
Possibly shirts. We don't know.
Yeah. Let's dive into this draft.
Let's get it, baby. So yeah, quick reminder for everyone. This is Dynasty. Only rookies are in this draft. 12 rounds, snake order, I believe. Or is it not snake because it's Dynasty?
It should be snake. But I guess it shouldn't be snake.
No, it shouldn't be snake
draft.
for sure.
Okay, well now you guys are going to kind of get an insight here because I'm going to go in a linear.
See that?
Yep.
Getting the draft settings.
It put a time limit back on again. You love to see that.
Love to see it. Way to go, Sleeper. This is our preferred fantasy football website, app, whatever people are using at this point. We're pretty much all Sleeper. We'll occasionally use Yahoo. Never ESPN. No, we are strict haters of the ESPN fantasy app. I'll die on that hill.
Not me. I think ESPN is kind of on par with Yahoo, where I don't really like either of them, and I'm indifferent to them.
I would rather not use Yahoo either. Well, I'm not stuck in 2006. But Sleeper, dude, get with the times, everyone. Sleeper is the fantasy football app.
Yes, I agree. Not sponsoring the podcast.
Free shout out to Sleeper.
Yeah. All right. Screen is being shared. As you can see, I'm locked in. You see the Marshall Erickson Margarita profile picture. I'm locked in at spot 3. And you see Nick there locked in at spot number 8. So you ready to start this draft?
Let's get it, baby.
All right. I swear if I start this and it has a timer, I will freak out.
We're getting sounds on the pod.
Yeah. Is that coming from you? Because my
phone's on silent, dog.
My computer sound is off.
My phone's on silent.
Okay. I don't know where the sound's coming from then. All right. As you see, as expected, thankfully.
Thank God. I was so worried that wasn't going to happen.
Ashton Janty and Amarian Hampton going 1 and 2, which is, in my eyes, the route that your dynasty leagues should be going. So
I think that's the only route it should be going. There's no other case for anyone to go to. I love Judkins. You love Henderson.
If you're in a 2 QB league, I could understand going Cam Ward at 2.
Oh, man. The pass on it. Mario Hampton for that, I guess.
But if it's like I still would take Hampton over.
I agree. I don't push quarterbacks in like super flex or 2 QB leagues. I'll let QBs fall to me. I'll snag a backup or 2 on free agents, and I'll let superstars just fall into my lap if people want to draft quarterbacks. And I think Mario Hampton is every bit of a superstar in this draft.
Yeah, you were a lot higher on him in the process than I was, but I still top 25 grade on him. He's a great player, great system as well. Where I don't think Najee Harris is going to keep him from performing this year. Najee's only there for 1 year, so Hampton is the guy going forward there. So for me here at 3, I think this really comes down to one of the receivers in my eyes being Travis Hunter or Tedero McMillan. A little considerations to my guy Trevion Henderson and your guy Quinshon Judkins, but with the running back depth, I'm going to lean towards the receiver here, and I'm going to go with Travis Hunter. He in my eyes, he was the number 1 receiver by far in the class. I know you like Tet a little bit more than you did Hunter at wide receiver, but Jacksonville went up and got this guy. He's got the better quarterback. Bryce Young is Tedoro's quarterback, whereas Travis Hunter has Trevor Lawrence. He's got the system coming from Liam Cohen in Tampa Bay where they want to pass the ball. He's an elite wide receiver 1 in my eyes in real life, and then the Jags already have a wide receiver 1 in Brian Thomas Jr. So this opens up the field for him where it's like he doesn't have to be the guy, and I think the Chris Godwin role of the Liam Cohen offense is going to be Travis Hunter. And Chris Godwin was great if you look at the first 6-7 games last year before he got hurt. He was on pace. He was winning you fantasy games. And I think Travis Hunter, if he gets like 100 targets, I don't think he will, but if you're looking at 90 targets, I think you're looking at possibly 68 to 70 catches for close to 1,000 yards. And he provides big play yak ability. And with Brian Thomas, I just think this offense is going to be really explosive fantasy-wise for the future. So I'm going to bank on that with Travis Hunter in Jacksonville.
I think he gets 100 targets this year. I think they are going to use him.
And that's fair. I think it's possible.
A ton in offense. I think he's going to have a really good year. I've had 103 in a couple dynasty drafts already. I went Hunter in one, and I went Judkins in the other because I did not need another receiver in the one. But I snagged Hunter happily in the one, and I love Tet, but I think the ceiling on Hunter is just through the roof there in Jacksonville.
Okay.
But you can't go wrong with either of them. So
yeah. So after my selection at 3, Teteroa McMillan, he went to team 4. Travion Henderson went to team 5, running back Patriots. Quinshon Judkins, Cleveland Browns rookie, he went 6. And Emeka Ibuka, Tampa Bay wide receiver, rookie receiver, went 7, putting you up at spot 8.
All right, so at this point, Cam Ward is in the conversation. I think this is where you can kind of start putting Cam Ward into talks. Because I think everyone before this should go before him. Even Ibuka, I get he's not going to have a huge rookie year in Tampa based off so many guys around him being Mike Evans, Chris Godwin if he's healthy, Jalen McMillan. But Ibuka is going to be that
healthy,
guy.
There's the key. Tampa Bay. Mike Evans always has a hamstring issue every year. Chris Godwin's coming off the serious
Always
injury.
hurt.
Jalen McMillan really inconsistent last year. So I think there's a world where we're looking at Emeka Ibuka like we did at Ohio State, where he was never the best receiver on his roster, but he put up the most production because he was the most reliable guy there.
That is very true. I think he's going to have a very similar path to JSN, who was a college teammate of him. He was drafted to Seattle, and it was a crowded room. He had DK, he had Tyler Lockett his rookie year, and he was used, but he wasn't used a bunch. And then the second year, dude, he just blew up, and I think that's what we're going to get out of Ibuka. I think next year for Ibuka, I'm almost banking on 1,000 yards for him there in Tampa, his year 2. But yeah, so at 108, I'm looking at Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, Cam Ward, and RJ Harvey. The RJ Harvey pick for Denver is such good capital, dude. Fucking Sean Payton just
Sean Payton back.
Exactly. Sean Payton went out there and got his guy. That's who he wanted. He didn't care about what other teams thought about him or where mock draft people or analysts had him ranked in like the 80s or 90s. I personally had RJ Harvey ranked at 60. That was where he was drafted. So I'm with Sean Payton on this one. I get that pick. But I'm not going to go with him here, and I'm not going to go with Cam Ward either. I'm going to go with Colston Loveland. He's going to be my first tight end taken out of this class, just like the real NFL draft. I think him in Chicago with Ben Johnson is a phenomenal fit. And I think he's just going to eat up a bunch there in Chicago. I think they're going to pass a bunch because they gave Caleb Williams the world there again in year 2. They went out and got him 3 offensive linemen in the free agent market, 2 via trade, 1 versus free agent, I believe. And they got him Burden out of Missouri as the 3 now with Rome and DJ Moore. And then they spent the 10th pick on the draft on Colston Loveland, dude. They're throwing the world there at Caleb Williams again. We'll see if it works out. This has to be the year for him to pop off, dude. Yeah, I think it's going to work, though. I still believe in Caleb Williams.
Yeah. We were actually talking about the Bears offense today in our little group chat. And I actually believe Colston Loveland is going to get the Amon-Ra kind of role where he's going to kind of get the middle of the field stuff and the important big first down catches that Amon-Ra provided in Detroit. So I do like that option. Then at 9, Tyler Warren, the other tight end, Indianapolis Colts, he went next. Caleb Johnson, my dude from Iowa, going to the Steelers, he went 10. RJ Harvey, Denver running back, 11. Matthew Golden went 12. And then to begin here, the second round, Luther Burden from the Bears and Trey Harris from the Chargers. So a big run on guys I was targeting here. So
for sure.
Cam Ward, though, is still sitting on the board. And I love his value more than I do. Like, it's going to take a lot for me to turn down Jaden Higgins here. But Cam Ward, I don't necessarily think he's ever going to be a QB1 consistently in fantasy football. But I think he is a streaming option pretty much every year, every week. I think that's the route he's going to be. I think it's going to be similar to the guys like Trevor Lawrence, where they're going to just kind of fluctuate from like QB10 to QB16 every single year. I don't see the upper echelon elite fantasy years from Cam Ward, but also from a dynasty standpoint, if I get him, I'm comfortable with him until I'm able to find a quarterback. So, if I didn't go Cam Ward here, I would be looking at Jaden Higgins and Kyle Williams at this spot. So, but
would you pick Kyle Williams over Jack Beck from Vegas?
I would, because long term, I'm just really confident in Drake May that I'm going to want the guys that are pinned to him. And I think Kyle Williams' future in New England is huge. So, and getting who I think he can be the number one receiver for Drake May. If panned out correctly. I don't think Jack Besh is really ever going to be a number one receiver. And I think they're going to run a ton with Janty. I think he's the guy. And there's still questions of quarterback future wise, like after Geno Smith.
Future wise, for sure.
I would personally go May.
I would go Beck. I think he has the chance to take the Jacoby Meyer role in the future and be the quote for quote number one receiver, but they still have. Oh my God, I'm blanking on that guy's name, which is unbelievable.
Stephon Diggs?
No, not in New England. Brock Bowers, the tight end in the.
Brock. Okay.
So Beck will never be the number one option with Brock Bowers and even Janty there, but I think Beck could easily be the number one receiver on that team because they don't use the way they use Myers. I think they could use Beck the exact same way, 800, 900 yards every single year.
Okay. After I went Ward, your guy, Cam Scatabo, went to Team 4. Jaden Higgins, Houston, rookie wide receiver from Iowa State, went to Team 5. Jack Besh went 6, Las Vegas to Team 6. Mason Taylor, the tight end, LSU to the Jets, Team 7. That puts you back up. Who you pairing here with Colston Loveland?
Oh, man. So the receivers here are Jalen Noel, Kyle Williams, who you brought up in detail. And that's about it for receivers. I really wouldn't look at another one. They got Jalen Royals down there, but I think it's a little too early. And the running backs have also kind of fell off. You got two in Dylan Sampson. I think it's just way too early. I cannot believe I'm just looking at 2 tight ends here, which is unbelievable. But Terrence Ferguson is here, and I think he's honestly the poor man Colston Loveland. And I think he's going to be heavily used in the Rams offense. I would go Kyle Williams over him. So I'm going to go Kyle Williams here. You talked up Kyle Williams to have Drake May's possible number one receiver. It's not going to be this year because of Stephon Diggs coming off injury. He's going to eat up a lot. And they just have a crowded receiver room as it is. But they spent a very early third. He might have been the first receiver picked in the third round, to be honest.
He was.
Pick on Kyle Williams. So the draft capital's there. It's the new organization as well. And they didn't draft any of the other bodies in that room. They drafted Kyle Williams, though. So to pair him with Drake May, I love that. And I didn't go Jalen Noel there because it's a super crowded room there in Houston. And he's only going to be the number 3 at best in Houston. He's going to eat up the slot role. And that's even if it's not Christian Kirk, because they still have Christian Kirk. They drafted his college teammate, Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. And then they also have Nico Collins, who is amazing, arguably a top 5-8 receiver in the NFL. So I'm going, Kyle Williams. I think that's a lock to be New England's at least number 2 in the future. So
I like
lock that in.
All right. After Kyle Williams, Team 9 took Jalen Noel. Team 10, Elijah Arroyo, Seattle, tight end. Terrence Ferguson went to Team 11. Bashaw Tootin, running back for the Jaguars, went to Team 12. Team 1 then took Harold Fannin Jr., tight end for the Browns. And then Jalen Milroe, Seattle quarterback there for Team 2. All right.
Milroe's a very interesting pick. I would not go Milroe over Dart or even Tyler Shuck, but the ceiling on Milroe is crazy, dude. It's almost like drafting Jalen Hurts when he came out, you knew he wasn't going to be the starter because they had Carson Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
But if and when he gets in and he hits, he's going to be a fantasy star if he pans out. And that's what Jalen Hurts ended up being. So I see the high upside on Jalen Milroe. I get it here, though, for sure.
Yeah. So I'm here. I'm looking. I like Dylan Sampson, but with Quinshon Judkins there, Jerome Ford's still there. I don't think Jerome Ford's going to be there after this season. But
yeah,
clearly, if Stefanski has usually favored more predominant one running back situation. So I'm kind of shying away from Sampson, though he's great injury reserve for Quinshon Judkins. I like Devin Neal. He's really the only back in New Orleans who can handle a full workload. That's no disrespect to Alvin Kamara, but he's better in a situation where he has a guy spelling him. Jalen Royals as well here in Kansas City, but there's a ton of names in that room, so who knows what sort of future he possesses. Like, he could just turn out to be Sky Moore in this offense and just be on the field and irrelevant.
Yeah.
Jadon Blue in Dallas is interesting as well. That running back room has a ton of questions, but it's also a situation where, like, it wouldn't surprise me if Dallas just goes with those three guys and they draft a running back next year.
I agree. I think I would have leaned Blue over Sampson if I was going one of the running backs.
I agree.
I do like Devin Neal over both of them. I think
Devin Neal is where I'm going.
Yeah, Devin Neal offers a more consistent role where the other guys are really just pass catchers out of the backfield. I think they drafted Sampson just in case Judkins doesn't work out hands-wise. Then they have a reliable back that can catch with Sampson. And Jalen Blue's going to be a receiving back in the NFL. He's not going to be able to carry a workload at all, but he does have high upside 30, 40, 50 catches a season.
Especially this year with how open-ended Dallas's room is, and he's the kind of running back they don't have. So early output could be Jaden Blue. You're going to get more value, but I think long-term, I would lean Devin Neal, maybe even Dylan Sampson. They're both kind of up in the air. I like Sampson's talent more than I like Jaden Blue, but Jaden Blue has a much better landing spot and opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so after I went Devin Neal, Jackson Dart went, so they doubled up on Giants, did Team 4 with Dart and Scadaboo to pair with Tenero and McMillan. Team 5 took Gunnar Helm, who we forgot to talk about in our recap. I did not put him in the docket, and we slipped our mind. He went to Tennessee. Another weapon for Cam Ward there with
for sure
Chimera Dike and Elikai Manor and Xavier Restrepo. So they brought in guys. So he went to Team 5. Quinn Ewers to Team 6. That one's really interesting.
That is a crazy pick over Tyler Shuck.
Over Shuck, over Shadur Sanders. Interesting pick there from Team 6, the computer. And then the aforementioned Dylan Sampson went to Team 7, putting you back on the clock. You got Kyle Williams, New England receiver, and Colston Loveland, the tight end. You're really building a team pandering to me. Those are two of my guys. What you looking at doing here?
Going back to the first round, we brought up RJ Harvey and how Sean Payton traded up to get his guys. Well, he did the exact same thing. He didn't trade up in the third round, but he went out and got his guy, and it was Pat Bryant. And I'm going to go with Pat Bryant here, regardless of who is on the board. You do have guys like Savion Williams, but he's in a super crowded room in Green Bay. Mm-hmm. You got Woody Marks in Houston, who they traded up for. I do like the upside of Woody Marks because he is the backup to Joe Mixon in Houston. He's going to be the number 2 back. They traded a third next year to go get him, so he's going to be a pretty good receiving back in the NFL. But like these guys here on the board aren't going to be guys that I can reliably put in if need be. Pat Bryant might be the number 2 or 3, depending on how it falls, because Sean Payton loves this guy, obviously. Mm-hmm. If you look at his college tape, it makes sense why he went early, but he runs slow and he doesn't run clean, but it is what it is. But the way Sean Payton's going to use him as a Mike Thomas, as a Marquise Colston, he has amazing fantasy value. And
Sean
how long
Payton
is
has a type? He has
exactly.
A type. It's Pat Bryant.
How long is Cortland Sutton going to be there in Denver? Once Cortland Sutton leaves,
they're talking about trading Cortland
every single year. It's possible Cortland Sutton gets dealt at the deadline. Pat Bryant's going to slide into that big body role. And I think it was either last year or 2 years ago, Cortland Sutton had like 12 touchdowns, dude. Pat Bryant can easily do that And if you're putting up double-digit touchdowns every year, you are going to have high value in fantasy football. So I'm going to go with Pat Bryant here. Just attach myself to Sean Payton kind of guys. That's what we love in fantasy, dude. We love guys that are going to go out and just pepper their guys with targets.
All right, after you went Pat Bryant, Jadon Blue finally off the board. Team 9 took him, and then Jalen Royals to Team 10. Alec Ayumaner, Team 11. Sleeper weird rankings that Ayumaner's kind of above Chimera DK, even though DK went over him in the draft. But they're both fourth-round guys, and the NFL media sort of saw Ayumaner. The general consensus fans thought Ayumaner was much higher than where he went, whereas we were kind of on par with where he ended up being drafted.
There was a lot of scouts or people in the media that just loved Ayumaner's game, dude, out of Stanford. His catching scares me, dude, but I love what Cam Ward brings to playing around and just playing backyard football. If Ayumaner's able to get behind a defense, he's a big body that can make some crazy catches, but he's very inconsistent. But if he's able to put it together, dude, he has the body control to do it. And DK adds the exact same thing, dude. He could take the top off the defense and just run behind the defense if Cam Ward gets around the pocket and just sling it up deep to him. Yeah. But I also think Restrepo makes his team. I think all three of these guys are making the team.
Yeah, I agree. Team 12 rounding out the third round, they took Shadur Sanders, Cleveland, and then Team 1 finished off their draft to Cleveland's other rookie quarterback, Dylan Gabriel. Team 2, taking my guy, tight end, Arondé Gadsden. They're doubling up on Chargers weapons with tripling up. Hampton, Harris, and Gadsden for Team 2.
Tripling up. They love what Hardball's doing out there at the Chargers, dude. I mean, so do I, dude. I placed a little bet on ESPN. It's like a 5-leg parlay with division winners, and I picked the Chargers to win that division. It boosted my odds in a favor that I could not resist, dude. So I'm pulling for the Chargers this year, baby.
All right, so I'm up here with my final pick, fourth round. Some names I like still. Xavier Restrepo, as mentioned, he's still here. I could pair him up with Cam Ward. My guy, Trevor Etienne, Panthers, still there. Jordan James, great situation in San Francisco. Potentially the backup if he beats out Isaac Guerrero. Christian McCaffrey's health always is up in question here lately. Savion Williams, Woody Barks, Tay Felton, Torrey Horton, Isaac Tasla, who the Lions gave up a boatload to trade up for. My guy Jarquez Hunter is up here. So a lot of names that I really dig in this class still on the board, but I am going to be a homer. Oh, my guy Kyle Monungai still there as well.
I'm going to talk about the running backs from last year's class that are all kind of running back twos in the league. They all kind of lucked out in this draft, dude. None of the teams really went out and replaced those guys.
No.
Being what's his face in Arizona, Benson, who we really loved coming out of Florida State. They didn't bring in a running back. You got Wright in Miami. They brought in Ollie Gordon, but that was a 6th-round pick. Guerendo's going to be San Fran's RB2. They brought in James, but that was a 5th-round pick. Guerendo's going to be RB2. Braylon Allen in the New York, the Jets, he's going to be the RB2. All of these guys last year that were drafted later as a bad running back class, they are going to keep their jobs, and these guys are going to be very valuable in Dynasty if their guy goes down, and they're still so young, especially like Allen and Guerendo. These guys are just pups, dude, and if they're given the chance, they're going to shine. And all 4 and even 5, there's a couple of backs last year that are just solidified RB2s now this season. Those guys are good. Everyone should keep their eyes on those couple of guys for sure.
There was a running back in that rookie draft class who was drafted, and that team did draft a running back in the Los Angeles Rams. Almost top 100 pick.
Funny how I did not name that guy.
Yes. Nearly top 100 pick. My dude from Auburn, Jarquez Hunter. Carolina also drafted a back. They drafted Trevor Etienne. They both drafted my guys. But Jonathan Brooks, he's out for the year. That's already announced. So he's going to fill that role. I don't even know what future-wise Jonathan Brooks has in Carolina.
I agree, dude. Severe knee injury in college, and then for him to just come back, play a little bit, and then tear it up again, dude. It's
Yep.
him and Tank Dells, their future scares the hell out of me, dude. It's really sad to hear.
Yeah, and like Eric All as well. He had a ACL
Yep.
injury after being incredibly banged up in college. But Jarquez Hunter,
Yep.
Auburn rookie running back. You guys know I can't quit him. He is my nicotine. I just licking it off my fingers. And Kyron Williams has been an incredibly productive fantasy running back for Sean McVay. Kyron Williams' contract is up at the end of this year. There's always
going to get money
that the Rams just don't pay him. They have two guys in-house who they both drafted who are a lot cheaper, and they might let Kyron go because they're going to have to pay Puka Nacua. Matt Stafford's making a ton of money, so they haven't had the chance to reset the cap yet because they don't have a rookie quarterback.
So is Devontae Adams over the next 2 years. He's making a ton of money with the Rams.
Yeah, and you're going to have guys coming up like Kobe Turner. They're going to have to pay him. So I think Jarquez Hunter is a better prospect than Blake Corum. I think Jarquez Hunter is going to surpass Blake Corum in this offense. And I think there is a chance Jarquez Hunter is this year's Bucky Irving, and he somehow finds a role here because he's just a good football player, and Sean McVay can't keep him off the football field. And that maybe that's just me. I'm incredibly high on him. I've been high on him through the process. That hasn't changed. And I love this landing spot because this is a spot where running backs produce fantasy value. So I'm going to take the guy who's sitting behind a really productive fantasy running back whose contract's up, and we don't know if he's going to be back. So I'm going to take the shot here. It's my last pick. So if Kyron Williams does end up re-signing, I can either move on from Jarquez or, I keep him in case Kyron goes down, because Kyron Williams also has been banged up the last 2 years. So Jarquez Hunter is easy lock-it-in pick for me here at the 4th round in my final spot.
Yeah, that pick makes a ton of sense to me. I'm not going to lie. It's insane that Tyler Shuck is still here over all these quarterbacks that are going.
So Mitchell Evans, Carolina tight end, finished it out team 4. Will Howard, I like that pick. It's a team 5. Maliki Mataveo, UCLA tight end. We did not talk about him much at all. He went to the Saints. Team 6. Riley Leonard, Colts quarterback. Team 7, putting you up at team 8. And I can only assume you're taking Tyler Shuck.
Had
I known Tyler Shuck was going to fall in this draft, I wouldn't have taken Cam Ward in the 2nd.
I'm just going to talk up Woody Marks again, because that's who I really want to pick here, because like I said last round, Houston traded next year's 3rd to move up to get Woody Marks. So they added, it's already good draft capital in the 3rd when they picked him. They traded they spent 2 third-round picks on Woody Marks. That draft capital is insane. And then he's the number 2 back behind Joe Mixon, who is always available. Joe Mixon, sure, he got hurt last year in Houston, but he was amazing the 6-7 years before that in Cincinnati. Very seldom hurt. That was his best ability in Cincinnati, was just always being available. And last year in Houston, Joe Mixon was RB1 for a huge stretch of the season.
Yep.
Joe Mixon was amazing. Him and Barkley were both out of this world. And then Joe Mixon got this knee injury. It kept him off the field for a couple of weeks, and he just kind of came back not the same. And then he just didn't have a strong finish because of the knee injury. But Woody Marks adds that value, and he takes a good amount of the pass catching away from Joe Mixon. So I think it actually hurts Joe Mixon's fantasy ceiling having Woody Marks now behind him, because Pierce, the guy behind him last year, is not catching any bit of balls. That's not the kind of back he was.
I don't even think they keep Pierce. I think they're going to move on from Dameon Pierce. I think they try.
I agree. I agree. I don't think he's going to make the roster. He's just not even worth the body at this point. They can move on. He was a failed experiment. Great rookie season though, for sure. He deserves the flowers for that. But if Tyler Shuck wasn't here, because he's not going to be here in any other draft.
No.
Normal people are going to draft Tyler Shuck because he's the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, most likely.
Yeah, he's likely going in the 2nd round of your rookie drafts. So
yeah, because guys like Riley Leonard aren't going to see the field. Quinn Ewers is not going to see the field this year. Will Howard's most likely not going to see the field this year. Jalen Milroe's not going to see the field this year. Jackson Dart's probably not going to see the field this year. So like Tyler Shuck is going to see the field at some point this year. Jake Haener and Spencer Rattler are not going to keep this man off the field. I am sorry. And I'm a true Jake Haener fan coming out of college. He's not going to keep Tyler Shuck off the field. But I'm going to go Tyler Shuck here just to get him picked, obviously. But Woody Marks would be my pick here in a draft where Tyler Shuck does not fall because of weird rankings.
There's some good names, like Torrey Horton, your dude. We both loved him. Colorado State wide receiver going to Seattle.
DJ Giddens is a really good number 2.
Yep, handcuff him with Jonathan Taylor. I think he ends up going 2 in rookie drafts, so really weird. He didn't go ahead. The sleepers got Chimere Tadike ranked 771st, and I just don't know why.
Super low.
And Jalen Lane at 2,553.
I also think Isaac Tesla is the guy that should be drafted in dynasty leagues because of the draft capital with Detroit, and they know what they want. And he is going to be the Tim Patrick of this offense. He's going to be the number 3, number 4. But Tim Patrick had spike weeks, and that's what you're looking at in dynasty. It's the 4th round of a rookie draft. If you can get a guy that can get 500, 600 yards, 4 or 5 touchdowns, hey, man, I'll take that every day of the week in the 4th round.
Yeah. Computer AI here, I'm looking at it, and all the computer teams took a quarterback and tight end, and I think that's why it kind of skewed everything up.
Probably.
Whereas we did not. So I'm going to bet money after you take Tyler Shuck here. Team 9's going to take a quarterback.
Getting a weird quarterback run. I could definitely see that. Brashard Smith, Kansas City, also a guy that I think he's the guy that you could be put on your little, what is that thing called? A taxi squad. If you got a taxi squad. Yeah, he's a guy in Kansas City that might see the field later in the season and take the Jerick McKinnon role or the Samaje Perine role. And those guys added really good fantasy value. There was a year Jet McKinnon was, he like 11 touchdowns. He was amazing for fantasy football.
He won me money, Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah, he was an RB2, RB1 in the final stretch of the season when it mattered most. Yep. And he balled out. Kansas City doesn't have that kind of back. Smith was a legitimate receiver in college for a good amount of time. He is a receiving back.
Andy Reid also has no problems just putting his best football players on the field. He doesn't care about draft capital.
Exactly, yeah. If he goes out there and produces and shows, I mean, look at the Pacheco. He was a 7th round pick, and he is their starting running back now. They brought Kareem Hunt back off the street, and he was their starting running back last year. I don't see a world where Smith can't, like, why can't he see the field? Kansas City puts out these running backs that are like, oh, if you're producing, you're going to see the field. And Smith produced like a motherfucker last year during college. So I expect him to be out there when it really matters for Kansas City on big plays.
Yeah. Real life drafts are going to go much differently than this. The AI here, not ideal with some of their picks, but you're going Tyler Shuck here to round out your squad.
Yeah, might as well.
Yep. That just as expected. Quarterbacks, and it's gonna be a tight end who that guy's not even on a team.
Never even heard of. Oh, way to go here, Sleeper. We hype up Sleeper and how good their app is, and their fantasy app just kind of But we hyped up a bunch of guys that should be drafted.
I can't even look at the other players available to see what tight ends should have went. All right, to round out there, I'll just Tyler Shuck you went with, and then Kyle McCord, Curtis Rourke, who you really like for San Francisco, Brady Cook, and Taylor Slowett. Taylor Slowett from UC Davis. Cool.
I think the Curtis Rourke pick is another guy that you can stash on a taxi squad.
I think especially if you have Brock Purdy. He's a guy, like, if I have Brock Purdy in Dynasty, I'm looking at Curtis Rourke because Curtis Rourke, it's a Shanahan thing. We brought that up. He fits the system. His brother was the offensive coordinator at Indiana. So familiarity there for sure. Curtis Rourke.
And Brock Purdy has to get paid. It's the Kyron Williams situation.
Yeah.
If San Fran doesn't want to,
Purdy gets paid. I think he's paid before the season starts.
100%. I don't think that's going to happen. But if San Fran doesn't want to pay Brock Purdy, which I 100% agree, I don't think Brock Purdy's that good. Brock Purdy was literally Mr. Irrelevant in the draft. They also are a team that does not care about draft status. Curtis Rook could easily be their starting quarterback in 2 years.
Yeah. All right, so I had the third slot. I went with Travis Hunter, wide receiver for the Jags, Cam Ward, quarterback for Tennessee, Devin Neal, running back New Orleans, and of course, rounding out my squad. I wasn't going to let him go. Not picked by myself. That's Jarquez Hunter, the running back for the Rams.
Way not to follow the tight end quarterback tandem, Theo, like I did. Well, I followed the rules.
No, you didn't. You didn't take a running back.
That doesn't matter. There's no rules.
But all the teams, every team took a quarterback, a running back, a receiver, and a tight end. They picked by the board.
That is true.
Even though we had no roster restrictions there
were absolutely no roster restrictions. You could start whoever you want. And they're like, you know what? We're starting the generic roster here.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, Loveland, I love in Chicago. I think he's got a huge, big rookie season. I don't think he's going to be tight end one like the last 2 seasons where a rookie is finished tight end one. But I think if a rookie does do it, it's going to be Loveland. I don't think it's going to be Warren. I don't love the situation in Warren, Indianapolis. I don't trust anyone to get that man the ball. But I think Warren's going to have a really good year for sure.
What if he's just the quarterback? They Taysom Hill him, and you can play him with tight end, even if he's a starting quarterback.
Dude, he's in the same realm as all those other guys. But their quarterback room is a mess, dude. With what's his face, Danny Jones,
Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones,
AR, yeah, and even
Riley Leonard.
Riley Leonard, who is a spitting image of Danny Jones, same college, same playing style. So I think Danny Jones gets the job. I think, and that's best for, I think, all the weapons. Maybe not Josh Downs. Josh Downs was like eating up the big plays. So was that little white guy who I do not like. What is his name?
Guy. Alec Pierce.
Sure. I'm not a fan of that guy. Get that guy off the field. Get the guys that matter the ball. Make Pittman fantasy relevant again, please, for the love of God. Indianapolis, do your job. Get the guys the ball.
The rest of your squad here? You went on
it's Kyle Williams, New England, who's going to be Drake May's number 2 at some point. I love the fit there in New England. He's a super good field stretcher, very fast. He's what New England's missing. Pat Bryant, Denver, Sean Payton again, 3rd round draft capital. Sean Payton going out, getting his guys like he did with RJ Harvey, Pat Bryant. He knows how to use his guys. He knows how to get these guys involved, and he's the one calling the play. So, like, sure, these head coaches go up and get these guys, and sometimes they're not the offensive coordinator. They're not the one calling the play. Sean Payton went up and got these guys. He's the one calling the plays. He's going to get his guys involved. And then the rounded out was Tyler Shuck, who was not going to be there in the 4th round.
Realistically, your draft could have went Loveland, Shuck, Williams, Bryant.
Sure. Pat Bryant. Yeah. I don't know if Pat Bryant would be there in the 4th.
I don't think Kyle Williams makes it to the 3rd, but who knows with the sleeper AI.
That is very true. But I love the way the squad turned out. But obviously, I would not be able to get Shuck in the 4th. It would have been Woody Marks, who I also would have loved. I think him and Houston, great draft capital. We've talked about it multiple times.
Yeah. All right. Fantasy rookie mock in the books.
Little dynasty stuff.
Maybe we'll do another one a little later. Maybe sleepers ADPs will kind of catch up to being a little more realistic, and we can
always do a super flex one too.
Yeah, or maybe you'll do a dynasty startup, and we'll just draft a starting roster so then have everybody. Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Ooh,
plan the pod on the pod. That's what we do here. All right,
that's the end of the pod, dude. We plan the pod right at the end. Yeah. Let the people know what might be coming, and if not, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. So, coming weeks here, we're going to talk about offensive rookie of the year stuff, defensive rookie of the year, kind of go over like odds and whatnot, and who we disagree with, agree with, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So that'll be here probably our next episode. We'll focus on that, and then we'll go from there. So we'll see you guys next Tuesday. We'll be back. You know where to find us at @DraftedUp_pod on Twitter, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you find your podcast or watch the show. Like, rate, subscribe, review, share, all that good stuff.
It helps.
Click the link, support our friends, join the force over at Finley Force. If you click that link, make a purchase, you're a first-time buyer, you get a nice 15% off discount. And of course, don't forget to support our friends over at W Energy, our number one, our original, our OG W Energy, clean, efficient energy, uh, jitter-free, crash-free, no artificial colors, dyes, calories, all that stuff. They got a ton of flavors. Tiger's Blood, it's a strawberry, watermelon, coconut. They have Palm Blom, which is pomegranate blossom. They got Peach and Beach, which is a mango white peach cooler, and so much more. They got an anime collab with Solo Leveling. I don't know nothing about anime, but that's the show. They got 2 flavors there. One's like a grape blue raspberry, one's like a blue tropical punch. They also have other content creator collabs as well. So they're great with supporting their content creators like us and as well. And then, full ingredient disclosure, transparency, all that good stuff. It's clean energy. It's good energy. And they also have, non-caffeinated stuff. You just want to boost up your hydration. So support our friends over at Dubby as well. That's DUBBY. Search them up. They have an app where you can go to their site, w.gg. And of course, Drafted Up's the code. You get 10% off your discount. And that's good whenever. You don't have to be a first-time buyer. That is
every time.
You could do it 100 times. So
unlimited 10% off.
Yep. So support Finley hats, support W Energy, Finley hats. You click the link, W Energy. Just use the code Drafted Up for the discount. All right, guys. We'll catch you later. Nice little short episode. A good little break for you guys. You guys been getting these 2 hour,
episodes.
2:15
movie length podcast, baby.
Yeah, the last couple episodes. So we're gonna catch you guys a break. Keep you under an hour.
Hopefully, it's like this for the next couple weeks. We're just going short. We're just kind of grinding out the slower time. Yep. But we're still here, dude. We're still making fantasy football content now. Still doing real football content.
Yes, and
grind never stops for us, baby.
I saw your comment.
It'll happen.
We will be doing a very early 2026 mock draft. Look for that in
some point.
June.
Yes. Yeah.
June.
You got to give us a little bit of time to grind out at least a couple of prospects. We can't go into it blind and not know what we're talking about. But we are. I'm looking at quarterback lists for next year. I'm looking at receivers and running backs. The guys I love watching. Already starting the process early, just getting down names so I know who the prospects are. But I love it.
All right.
We'll get there.
See you guys. Drafted Up Podcast. We appreciate your support. Adios.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.